Hey guys, welcome back for more Dragonist Classic. So I know it's been a while since I posted my last video, and this time I wanted to make sure that you have, you can get something from this. So I discovered something recently that would increase your farm rate in terms of invaders, and it's really a lot. Let me show you. So in the past 5 days, I've tried to accumulate the number of diamonds, Alteum, and Essence of Life for all 3 characters only.
Welcome.
And
Feel free to look
this
around.
is what happened. So as you can see, I have a lot of Essence of Life, and mind you, this was farmed for only 5 days. So what you can see above here are accumulated for approximately 5 days, and then what's below is like a daily thing. So this is like an average thing. I believe that when I did this, I only farmed like 8 invaders in total. So how did I come up with this? As you can see, I also purchased like a 1-star Sea Dragonist staff. Although I already have one for myself, it's going to be used for another character. And I still have 1300 on my inventory. And sitting here is approximately 1500 gold. So it's a lot. If you're wondering how I did this, stay tuned. I hope you enjoyed this video. Alright, before we proceed, I would like to clear some things first. First is, when do you encounter an invader and where? Second, how does the game deduct FTG or fatigue points on your character? And lastly, what's the most optimal way to farm invaders? Let's answer all of these one by one. So, where do you usually encounter an invader? There must be 2 criteria that needs to be met before you encounter an invader. Number 1 is the level requirement or dungeon requirement. So invaders are summoned at level 32 onwards. Now, if you're confused where to look at or where do you find those dungeons, it's pretty simple. When you have your character on fields, press letter M on your keyboard, and then you'll find the portals on your map. So when you hover your mouse on each portal, you will see the level of requirement for each dungeon. So for example, the Ghost Town of the Isolated Forest and Explosion Zone are both level 32 dungeons. So in this specific map, Foothills of the Black Mountain, there are 3 dungeons that you will encounter an invader. So these 2, and I believe we have one for Dark Overlord's Tower. Now, on the port, I believe there's a couple. I mean, there's a lot. Most of your mission here are, from level 32. So in here we have Spirit Grave Tomb, Ruins of Lost Time. We have the famous Forsaken Islet Port, Sunken Cargo Vessel, Captain Darlan's Base, also Road to Death City, Gates to the City of Death, and Nameless Tyrant Tomb. Now these are the dungeons that you will encounter an invader. So aside from the level itself, it should be an Abyss dungeon. Alright, so the next question should be, when do you usually encounter an invader? It is by chance, but there's always a pattern here. Now, before I answer that question, let's talk about fatigue points first. So, I believe every one of you are aware that whenever you do an Abyss dungeon, exactly 300 FTG or fatigue points is required. Now, on special cases or the game was built where even if you have 1 FTG, you will be able to play an Abyss dungeon. Here's a catch. If you suddenly quit that dungeon, you will lose that 1 FTG. Now let's talk about that particular feature whenever you leave a dungeon. All right, so this might be confusing for some people, but I hope that you get the gist of this, right? Now, the game is designed to where it won't deduct the whole 300 FTG on your whole character, except on one factor only. Let me explain further. Now, I've explained that there's a lot of dungeons that you can encounter in Invader, right? Now, each of these dungeon differs. So, to simplify everything, whenever you enter a dungeon is divided into stages between portals. So, to make it easier, we could call it as a one-stage dungeon. The most famous one-stage dungeon, or the only one-stage dungeon, is Forsaken Islet Core. Now, I've checked everything. There are no two-stage dungeons separated by one portal. All of the dungeons that we have here on the game right now doesn't include a two-stage dungeon. So, the next is a three-stage dungeon separated by two portals. Notably, those are Ghost Town of the Isolated Forest. We also have Sunken Cargo Vessel. We also have Dark Overlord's Tower. So there's a couple of things, but I'll list it down here for your convenience. So I don't have it in my mind. I'll have to check, but for your convenience, I'll basically list everything down for you. We also have a 4-stage dungeon separated by 3 portals, namely the Nameless Tyrant Tomb. That's one. And then the longest dungeon that I've seen so far on level 32 is Ruins of Lost Time, which is a 5-stage dungeon separated by 4 portals. Now, why am I telling you these things? Because the fatigue points are deducted based on the number of stages on a given dungeon, the highest being Forsaken Islet. Now, to simplify everything, put it this way. You just have to divide your fatigue points, or the required fatigue points, by the number of stages on a given dungeon. For example, if you are inside a Forsaken Islet Core and then suddenly you quit the game, or say for example you return to town, what will happen is that you will be deducted exactly 300 FTG because it's a one-stage dungeon. Now, since we don't have any two-stage dungeon, let's just jump into a 3-stage dungeon. So, for example, if you go inside a Ghost Town of the Isolated Forest, the thing is, you have to divide 300 FTG into 3 parts. So that's exactly 100 FTG for each of this stage. So as I mentioned, it is divided by portals. So meaning that if you enter the dungeon itself and then suddenly quit, you are specifically on the first stage of the dungeon, which means that instead of being deducted the full 300 FTG, you will only get deducted 100. So, I think some of you will get the gist of this. Why am I explaining this? It's because we want to ensure that we maximize the FTG for hunting invaders. As of now, what I've shown you so far on my previous video is that I go to Forsaken Islet Core with 700 fatigue points. So if we do the math, 300, 300, and then the remaining 100 will be used up for the whole dungeon. You can encounter 3 invaders by chance. So, here's the next question. How can we maximize this? Instead of Forsaken Islet Core, and we all know that we can just go ahead and choose another dungeon. Which dungeon is the best in terms of Invader Hunt, right? Well, just to give you an answer directly, it is a 3-stage dungeon. Supposedly, it should have been the 2-stage dungeon. But since we don't have any dungeons like that, we're gonna stick with the 3-stage dungeon separated by 2 portals. Don't worry, I'm gonna show you a shortcut video. I'm not gonna post the whole video itself, but just to show you how the fatigue points are being deducted. later on. Let me just explain a bit. All right, so going back, if you were to choose a three-stage dungeon, the next question, or we have to go back to my initial question earlier, when do you usually encounter an invader? There is a pattern. So the pattern is that the invader will always be on the last stage or before the last stage, which means that if you have a three-stage dungeon, it would be available on the second stage. If you have a four-stage dungeon, it should be on the third, fifth should be on the fourth, so on and so forth. Again, I think you get the gist, right? So, which means that instead of a full 300 FTG, you're only required to consume 200 FTG, assuming that you don't go inside the portal to go to the next stage, because it will deduct you another 100, consuming your full 300 FTG. Because again, you're on the last stage, right? So, no worries if it's confusing for you. I have a video for it, don't worry. So, just to give you like a shortcut, your full 700 FTG as of this moment, instead of 3, you can actually encounter 4 invaders. If you have a fatigue potion, just like this one, we all know that it recovers 300 fatigue points, right? It's only good for one abyss run. Actually, no. With this method, you can actually maximize your FTG recovery potion for up to 2 abyss run, assuming that you quit on the second stage after killing the invader and then do another one. Alright, so I know I've been explaining a lot. It's time to show you how I've been doing it in the past few days. Stay tuned.
여기거든. 블레이드 스파이크. 여기거든. 여기거든.